Support WrestleTalk!
Enable notifications.
Can WWE rebuild Asuka? I'm hopeful. I need something in this WWE landscape to keep me from going completely mad. I'm Ollie Davis. This is the other one, Luke Owen. Welcome to the WrestleRamble review of SmackDown, which I'm hoping is going to be considerably more positive than we've been since Survivor Series.
I was thrilled when I got up this morning. I started watching SmackDown, and after that opening segment, it was like a wave of calm went over me. I was like, "Oh, we're in for a good show.
Yeah,
we are in for a good show."
Yeah.
And this show, absolutely, it was like a breath of fresh air.
We are, of course, sponsored by Beer 52. Head over to beer52.com/WrestleTalk to get your free case of craft beer, UK viewers only. Proceed.
Yeah, well, I mean, as I said, this show was like, it was a breath of fresh air. Like, after 2 awful weeks of Raw, after a really bad episode of SmackDown.
It wasn't a bad episode, it was just confusing.
I would say it was also a bad episode,
Okay.
because it was actively trying to ignore everything that Survivor Series had set up.
Yeah, it was frustrating and confusing.
So frustrating. Yeah. So I would say that was a bad episode of television. And the very frustrating and ultimately pointless Survivor Series. It was just like all of it had just been piled onto us at this one point, and everyone was like, you know what? It doesn't really matter. WWE don't care. The football's on, so they don't really care anymore. So we kind of like just resigned ourselves to this. Oh no, we got like a whole month of this. We've got a really lackluster build to TLC. Strowman's out injured. We don't have Roman Reigns anymore. Raw doesn't know what it's doing. God, I can't wait for the Royal Rumble. And then this show happens. And I was like, I'm now excited for SmackDown again. I'm excited for things on SmackDown again.
In the coldest, darkest part of the year, as the nights grow longer and the days grow shorter, we have now a glimmer of light to get us through WWE Wrestling and the rest of 2018. And it is Asuka, Becky Lynch and Charlotte at TLC. I do feel like WWE have structured the last 2 months like how they structure every single goddamn match on Raw. We have been worked over.
Yeah.
We are the baby faces, fans in general. We've been worked over with Super Showdown, with Crown Jewel, with Survivor Series nonsense, with terrible Raws, and here was the first hope spot. So, Paige opened SmackDown. See why she had to be out there, but it's by the by, because she was announcing right away, there was no long promo, the return of Becky Lynch. I mean, she just, excuse me, she was only gone for a week, 2 weeks.
I said this on the SmackDown review. I was like, she missed Survivor Series and one episode of SmackDown. It feels like she's been gone forever. Like, I think it's because everything's been so bad. I was like, good, I'm so happy to see her. And she even said, like, I've been gone far too long. And I was like, yes, Becky, you have. Well, it really feels like you've been gone far too long.
It's not just that. It's because so much stuff has happened. Daniel Bryan's turned heel. There was all that nonsense at Survivor Series. Charlotte, has she turned heel? I don't know. I'm still confused.
She's definitely heel now.
I don't know.
I
don't think so.
No, I guarantee. No, okay, so I've got a theory on this.
Well, should we say what happened?
Yeah.
So Becky Lynch comes down. She cuts a cool promo saying, because she's great. Everyone was so happy to see her. I was happy to see her. She's the most genuinely over person in WWE. There's now no argument about that. And she said that she wanted to fight on SmackDown. She wanted to fight at Survivor Series. But the WWE kept stopping her. But now she wants to see the person who replaced her, Charlotte.
Yes, she wants to question Charlotte about her actions at Survivor Series. Now, I'm just going to rewind this ever so slightly. Just take us back to last week when we sat here going like, that was a really confusing promo by Charlotte Flair. Rewind even further to Survivor Series when Charlotte Flair turned heel.
Yeah.
100% categorically, I will not have anyone else say, like, no, she did it for Becky Lynch. No. She turned heel. Every action she did was a heel action. The commentators were going like, she's gone too far. The commentators were one step away from going like, that was a heel turn. She turned heel. She tweeted out, I have turned heel. Then on Tuesday, they were like, no, let's not. We'll just have her be Becky Lynch instead. So Charlotte came out, so fast forwarding a little bit now, to SmackDown. Charlotte Flair came out and said, I did that for Becky Lynch. I did that for every woman in that locker room. And Paige came out applauding her and said, like, what you did was aces. And then Charlotte beat Iconics essentially 2-on-1 as a babyface. Fast forward now to today's show. Charlotte Flair in this promo said, I didn't attack Ronda Rousey at Survivor Series for you or anyone back there. I did it for me. I'm like, well, what are you doing then? So she is 100% a heel now. It felt like they have ignored last week's promo, and that doesn't matter. And it's now Survivor Series and here, and that bit was just like, it was a mistake last week.
No. I disagree. I think, so Survivor Series, she turned heel. The 2 nights after, they were like, oh, okay, we've created another Becky Lynch here. Good job, WWE. Pat on the back. We're not going to make the same mistake we made last time. We're going to get on their side right away. Because WWE are about 4 months behind on learning lessons. And that's, like, your theory would be perfect apart from Paige, who's the moral authority figure. She's a babyface, applauded Charlotte's actions.
Well, but we're ignoring what happened last week. I think it was...
No. They think she's a tweener. So that sort of frames her as a tweener. You're a badass. I'm sorry, I've got to fine you for attacking the referees. And then this week, Charlotte didn't do anything heelish. She was just very, very confident.
Oh, I think she was heelish. Her whole demeanour was more heelish. Like, the way she was dressed was more heelish. And, like, the fact that she essentially cut a promo on Becky saying, like, you've copied my father's gimmick. You've always been riding my coattails. And then saying, everything I did at Survivor Series, I didn't do for you, I did for me, which contradicts what she said last week. And then she essentially, at one point, told Becky to shut up because she wanted to cut a promo on Ronda Rousey. I think she was a total heel here.
All of that stuff you just said, put that in Becky Lynch's mouth, and you'll be going, what a badass. They're booking the same character.
But Becky was never saying, like, you've stolen my thunder. Oh, no, she didn't say, no. Okay, you've stolen my gimmick, is more what I meant.
She said it on this show.
No. Okay, no, I'm talking about the Becky Lynch from a few months ago.
Yeah.
The Becky Lynch from a few months ago was coming out and saying, like, you fans turned your back on me. And everyone was like, no, we didn't. We actually love you even more now. And they tried and tried and tried, but Becky was trying to say heelish things. And I get what you're saying.
And Charlotte's not saying that here.
I think Charlotte was... I think she was being a heel
She never
here.
said you people. She never said... She never got one vaccination shot.
In the butt.
Yeah.
And I actually completely see your argument. And I think that a lot of people will see your argument as well. And I think that you've got a lot of water to that argument. And there's a lot of basis to that. But for me, when I was watching this, I didn't see WWE thinking they were booking a badass. I saw them booking Charlotte as a heel.
I'm really hopeful...
Maybe it's just she's easy to boo.
Yeah, I think that could be it. She's just, naturally better suited to a heel. I genuinely think WWE have learnt the lesson from Becky Lynch, and she's the hottest thing in the company right now. And I think they're just going to try and replicate that with Charlotte, with Asuka, and have 3 really great tweeners.
Oh, Asuka's 100% a babyface.
Oh, well, but sometimes she does heelish things. Like, I'm talking, not
when?
now. Back in NXT. I'm saying if you start to gear...
3 years ago.
Whatever. We'll see. I think there's real money in just pushing all 3 women as badasses.
Completely
and
agree.
Making them fight. And I think seeing the success they had with Becky, reluctantly, but they've eventually accepted it, and now they're doing the same thing with Charlotte, in my eyes, rather than turning her heel. I think over the next few weeks, we'll see a similar badass transition for Asuka.
And I think you've got such a great point there, apart from that contradicting line that she said. When she said, I didn't do any of this for you, which literally last week she said that she did. That to me just felt like they were ignoring last week's promo and pretending that stuff she did with the Iconics never happened. And they're essentially, like I said in the review, this episode of SmackDown Live felt like a reset button was hit.
Yeah.
Where they essentially looked at last week's show and was like, a lot of that was an error. Let's just press the reset button on that and we'll just start over afresh. Let's just start doing loads of new feuds. We'll split up the Bar and Big Show. We'll start doing Joe and Hardy. We'll start doing this. We'll start doing that. And we'll just ignore a lot of the stuff we did last week.
Last week was the Thanksgiving episode. This was the true post-Survivor Series reset. So Becky and Charlotte I really like their interaction with each other.
Yeah.
Because there was no one trying to do bad comedy. They were both just trying to say, no, I'm better than you. I'm better than you.
Charlotte looked awesome as well.
Yeah. You stole, like Becky's there saying, you stole my gimmick by coming out here saying all that last week. And there was no like, oh, we're friends. Like that was the worst thing they could have done. No, Becky's like perfectly suited to her character. You're just copying me. And Charlotte very fairly says, you're just copying my dad. He's the guy who went around saying I'm the man. It's such a simple Just solid underpinning to this feud of two people who claim that they're the best and they're going to hash it out to see.
Agreed.
And, crucially, they're not just going to repeat Charlotte Becky, which we have seen. Granted, we haven't seen it with this new dynamic, but they're not doing that at TLC because this is where this bit comes in. This was the most awkward part of the segment because Paige and Charlotte are going again, like
Becky and Charlotte.
Becky and Charlotte, yeah. And Paige announces that they'll have Charlotte will get a title rematch at TLC, which I'm in for anyway. I want to see that match now.
The first ever women's TLC match. And it's funny enough, when we were talking about Evolution, when we did the Ramble Club podcast, we were saying, like, God, it really felt like they were building to a TLC match here, but I don't think that's going to happen at this point. But now, we're getting that TLC match. And credit to WWE. And this is definitely because there's no Stephanie here and there's no Michael Cole here, I feel.
Later.
Well, randomly, yeah. But because neither of those are like a constant factor on this show, or at least in this show's production, this is the first ever women's TLC match. That point was never hammered home of being like, this is happening, you must enjoy this, you must think we're progressive, you must think we're great. It was just, they mentioned it probably twice. But Paige didn't announce, like, in the first ever, she's like, no, you're having a TLC match. And then later on, they were like, that's the first ever one. That's a much more organic way of doing that.
Give it time. Give it time. But then speaking of organic, then we got the most seamless, non-cardboard, non-stage looking interruption where Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, weren't you guys feuding? The Iconics and Zelina Vega. When was she part of this merry band of heels? Just walk out. Vega's... She's a business manager. She's Andrade's business manager.
Not on the main roster.
Oh my God.
She is an active part of the roster.
Good grief. But they come out and they say, hey, you can't just book Charlotte and Becky forever. Which is what they have done, and they did with Charlotte and Sasha Banks a couple of years ago. So one of us wants a shot. And Paige says, you're just giving your PCB teammates things, because Paige, Charlotte and Becky were part of that original group. And I thought,
those glory years.
Forgot that happened. I don't want to be reminded of that.
I forget it happens every time until someone mentions it, and they go like, "Oh, Team PCB or Team Bad," and I go like, "Oh God, yeah, that is how they all debuted, and that was awful, wasn't it?" Stephanie McMahon playing with our action figures and putting them into factions. Awful, awful way to debut characters.
Do you think Triple H came over and said, "No, you want some factions? That's what you want."
It's just passing logos across.
Draw a cool logo for them.
Look,
the PCB.
It's got a skull on it.
Team Bad.
Team Bad was probably the worst name.
But then the baby faces come out. It's all the women standing in a row, like in a perfect line. Naomi, Asuka, Carmella, and Lana. Naomi's on the mic here, but the crowd don't care. Just like the previous week, just like the week before that, when Becky looked at all the women to replace her against Ronda Rousey at Survivor Series, everyone was chanting for Asuka. She is still over.
It's remarkable. Considering the effort WWE have gone to this year to make Asuka feel unspecial, it is incredible that the crowd can still get behind her. I'm so happy about it.
Same here. But it's not forever, because everyone was behind Bayley, I would say a year and a half after her call-up, even though she was being booked awfully. And now there's nothing. Well,
we were talking about the Manchester show, and she wasn't even getting there was probably a smattering, but not the way that the whole arena used to do it.
So Paige on scene, the rest of the women's division out there. She you know what's coming. But she starts banging on about fire. And, I'm so glad. This is the sort of fire I want to see from my women's division. And I just thought, stop saying that. It's such a patronizing way to... it just implies, so you don't care about anything the rest of the time. They keep on saying this. Like, Stephanie McMahon's like, I want you to show the fire. No, let's just assume that they always want to wrestle and they're always competitive. So that's by the by. Anyway, this whole bit was lame. But then Paige said there's going to be a battle royal later on, with the winner getting added to the TLC match with Charlotte and Becky as a triple threat. And I'm like, okay, that's even more than I wanted. And I'm looking at this cast of characters. I'm like, it's got to be Asuka, right? An Asuka, Charlotte, Becky Lynch match at TLC. I am suddenly so excited about that pay-per-view.
Mate, as I said in the review, like, I know you've had some nitpicks to point out there, but for me, I thought this was an absolute home run segment. Because
It wasn't.
I thought this was a home run segment.
Not with all those women coming out.
Well, as I said, aside from like staging issues, nitpicking aside,
that wasn't nitpicking.
That's not- well,
that was rubbish.
but it's nitpicking. Right?
It's not a home run. It's like you got a couple of bases.
3/4 of the way around.
Yeah.
But I would say that this segment had 3 goals in mind, which was number 1, let's bring Becky back and make her look great. Number 2, let it establish. Oh no, actually, they made 4 things then. Establish the heel-face dynamic between Flair and Lynch, which I think was a tick.
Well, we're disagreeing on that point, so that was obviously a fail.
Give the main event some stakes. And add a brand new face into the title picture. And not only that, add possible multiple faces within the championship picture because the entire women's roster was fighting for a spot. I thought it was a really successful segment in terms of what it set out to do.
Certainly was a successful segment, but not a home run.
I thought it was a home run.
So this all
So
paid off.
negative. So negative all the
I'm not going
time.
to say something was absolutely... When I hear home run, I hear absolutely perfect. But you had just ridiculous heel and baby
You're never
face
going
people.
to fix that in WWE because that's how they do things.
They've had perfect segments before.
Yes, and even in those perfect segments, I could imagine you could probably look at the direction that Kevin Dunn has done, or the way that people are staged. Because no matter how you're going to look at WWE, everyone is always standing in a line, so it's always going to look fake and phony.
Festival of Friendship.
Still standing in a line.
No,
just there's 2 of them.
Just 2 people. That's normal. And the camera work on that is superb because they do the reveal. You see, it's the list of Owens. Oh. Anyway, the Women's Battle Royal was the main event of the show, rightly. And I've written here, this is definitely the most progressive year for women in WWE. Undoubtedly, like it's so far ahead. But at the same time, how have there been so many Battle Royals? Which is like usually the sign that a division is not being booked right because it's just such a lazy thing, chuck them all in there.
Yeah, this is probably our 4th one if you include the Royal Rumble. Yeah. As a way to determine a new number 1 contender. Although Naomi got nothing out of winning her. She got that trophy that's never been seen since. At the end of Mania.
Yeah, but Shane's trophy.
That's
coming everywhere.
That sticks around.
So Asuka gets by far again the biggest cheer in the entrances. I'm hopeful. I was really invested in this match. And it was a pretty decent match as well. Everyone got entrances apart from the Vega, the Iconics, and DeVille, I think.
No, DeVille got one. And Iconics got one.
Did they?
Yeah. Actually, and Vega got one as well.
Oh,
they all got entrances.
I just didn't see that for some reason then. Vega's the first person out because she's a business manager.
Not on this roster.
Then the Asuka just starts going against people. She eliminates the Iconics, then she gets rid of Carmella, and then it comes down to Asuka, Naomi, Rose, and DeVille. So you've got these 2 tag teams.
Yeah. There was a really funny moment. There were 2 weird moments for me in this. Second one's not as weird. But there was a point when, like, Vega gets eliminated, and then she starts attacking Lana before they go to the break, like outside, as if like, oh man, and like she's now beating down Lana. We're starting a storyline. Come back from break, Lana's just in the ring and everything's fine. It's never brought up again. So perhaps they're going to lead to an Andrade Rusev thing, but Rusev's kind of tied up already with Shinsuke Nakamura by the looks of things. Maybe another triple threat, perhaps. But either way.
Maybe Vega's going to recruit more clients and then wrestle.
That's the way you get people over.
Yeah, that's the most effective thing to do for managers. That and peeing on robes, I think.
But a bit that really made me laugh in this was they had like a moment when Asuka was beating up the Iconics and like Peyton Royce, and she was eliminating both of them, and Todd Phillips goes like, brings back memories of her feud and the run-ins they've had with the Iconics at Super Showdown. And I was like, I completely forgot about that. 100% forgot that they were, quote, feuding earlier. Like, not even earlier this year. Last month.
Yeah, well, it was a nothing thing. So it comes down to those 2 tag teams, and Rose catches Naomi in a Hurricane Rana. Naomi catches Rose in a Hurricane Rana, but Mandy Rose stops it. And I think this was meant to be like oh wow, look how strong Mandy is. And she kind of deadlifts her up to do a powerbomb to the outside. It was super sloppy though, and it didn't look impressive.
I thought it looked cool.
I didn't think it looked good at all. And then Naomi and Rose take each other out with that spot, and it's down to DeVille and Asuka. And they're like low-key, always giving Deville these spots. So I hope they see something in her.
Well, I'm guessing so as well, because we figured that they were protecting her at Super Showdown, at Survivor Series, by her being eliminated by being counted out. Like, her and Bayley both got counted out as a way to, like, well, neither of them got pinned, so we can protect them. But then they just pinned her last week on SmackDown. But, again, I don't think that show counted. I don't think it's part of canon. So we can just ignore that.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, you would think Mandy Rose, and I think if in their perfect world, Mandy Rose would be the star here, but Sonya Deville is so much better in the ring. Anyway, this was very tense, because I was, as much as I liked Deville, I was so invested in Asuka winning, and I thought, oh, maybe they are kind of giving Deville a weird push, so maybe they're going to go with her.
Particularly when Mandy Rose got up and decided, like, despite the fact that they were feuding, guess that's been dropped, tried to trip Asuka off the apron, and it really genuinely was some very good tension on this. It was essentially a repeat of the end of the Royal Rumble with Asuka versus the Bellas, but hey, that worked at the Rumble, and it worked here as well.
Yeah, so the tense showdown on the apron, each woman teasing, falling off, and then eventually Asuka knocks her off. It's Asuka going in this triple threat. Charlotte and Becky were watching at ringside, by the way, and Asuka poses on the turnbuckle, staring them both down. So cool. And I said to my lady partner after watching this morning, it is so nice to genuinely being invested in WWE Women's Wrestling rather than, bless, they're trying. Which, to be honest, like all these crappy feuds based around who's friends with who, or as great as they are on promos, Carmella and Alexa Bliss are not good wrestlers, or Nia Jax as well. So you're watching these things, you're like, I really want to be into this, but there's such a talent gap between you and the men's wrestling. Not with these three women. I'm proud now to be a fan of this, and I don't have to say it with any caveats. And it is the best thing going in WWE right now. They've genuinely positioned women's wrestling as their main event. And it's not like, oh, it's the main event because it's women's wrestling anymore, because they're shoehorning it in for progression.
PR.
It's because this is genuinely the hottest, best booked feud, which is a big money main event match. If this was the old days and we bought the pay-per-view, I would buy this pay-per-view based on that match alone. It's a draw, and that's what you want. Congratulations, SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, I said this in the review. I feel like this match would have been a big deal months ago, before they completely flattened Asuka out. But credit to WWE, credit to SmackDown in particular. This whole match was designed to make Asuka look impressive. Asuka got most of the eliminations. She was the one that was fighting against the odds at the end. She was the one that won the whole thing. She practically eliminated the entire of the Battle Royal participants. This whole match was designed to put Asuka over and make her look dominant again, and try and make you forget that awful Carmella feud in the summer. Good Lord, talk about like flattening someone out, because I don't know why WWE decided to do this, but they decided, we just think Asuka's rubbish, so we're just going to make her look like a complete chump for the majority of the year, and then we're just going to put her into a pointless tag team with Naomi with nothing feuds. And all of that was undone in this one outing. Just this one thing was a good reset button, a rebuilding of Asuka to make her seem like a big deal again. And it's through this match and the way that she won and the way the match was presented, I come out there going like, yes, finally, I really want to see this match now. But if they'd have just announced Asuka was in it, I don't think I'd have been as into the idea of the match.
Yeah, completely agree. So to answer the question, 23 minutes in, can this rebuild Asuka? Definitely so. And I could potentially see an outcome. It depends on the build over the next few weeks, where Asuka wins the title.
Second eye, yeah.
And because Charlotte and Becky sort of cancel each other out, and then you build into the Royal Rumble, where one of them can feud with Asuka over the SmackDown title, and the other can enter the Rumble tournament and then set up that Ronda Rousey match for Mania.
Exactly.
Yeah, tremendously exciting stuff.
And I've seen a few people online, people have tweeted me, I've seen it on the Discord channel as well, be a little bit upset about Asuka being in this match, because they foresee this as, Asuka's just there to take the pinfall. Forgetting it's a TLC match, there are no pinfalls, there's a title hanging above the ring, so she's not going to get pinned.
Yeah. It's time to give a shout out to our $25 plus pledge hammers on Patreon. So thank you, caught in a Travis web.
Yes.
Woo, cheap pop.
We're going on a Brian Huntley.
Yeah.
Yes, Brian.
Charlie, drink it in. Z-Man.
Nice.
Oh, good delivery.
Daring Danny Richardson. Yes, yeah. Got there at the end.
What you talking about, Jerry Willis?
Oh, it's an old joke, different strokes.
King
I
George
think that was-
Phillips. I've doubled it up.
Doubled it up. We met him at the Prince Charles. Lovely fella. Joking Joshua Selig. Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm going to do the next one as well. Mo space, mo problems. Lovely stuff.
Noah the Ark. Trombley.
Oh.
Get two of every kind in that guy.
Absolutely. There can only be one. Our legend. It's a Highlander joke. It's a Highlander joke.
Robert Spencer. Period.
You're getting there. You're almost.
It's a weird TNA reference that I only just became familiar with.
Harder than its bite. Sean Barksdale.
It's a dog thing.
Dog thing.
The incredible Jorge Henriquez.
Oh, I love your dear delivery. So good. Duo XM Michael Sands.
Yeah.
Don't know what it
does that
means.
mean?
No idea.
Kenneth Houston. We have a problem.
Oh, WrestleMania
Whoa.
X7. Yes, nice.
If you want to get your name shouted out here and a host of other Patreon rewards, including exclusive podcasts, we're going to be doing our Ramble Club, which is the top 5 matches of the month later in the week. And we just had the WrestleRamble extra review of NXT TakeOver Toronto, which is a fantastic show.
Speaking of Asuka being over.
She fought Mickey James on that event. You can go over there and get all that for $5 to $10. Check it out. There's loads of rewards. Thank you.
It's a SmackDown review, Maggle. I love it. We got us a flying Uso.
After the alleged home run of an opening segment, we got the Usos having a little promo backstage. Awesome. I love it. It was just like, we're up next, guys. That was the crux of this.
Yeah.
But they're in the background. They've got their weird backstage environment. The camera's different.
I just feel like we're burying the lead here. There's a much bigger story to talk about.
Oh, and then there was this little thing shot earlier in the day, must have been a WWE.com exclusive, or whatever they say, where Cesaro, Sheamus, and The Big Show are kind of arguing in a locker room, and Big Show just punches Cesaro in the jaw.
Clearly not a proper punch, though, because he didn't knock him out.
Just a tap.
Just like a little love tap.
Not like kid.
Yeah, no, he punched him in the face. And then Sheamus said, "You're not on the team anymore." And I said this in the review. What was the point of this trio again? Like, why were they put together?
Well, you see, it's actually really fitting for Big Show's character, because he turned heel by aligning with them 3 weeks ago on SmackDown 1000, maybe 4.
Maybe 4, yeah.
And he's already turned face again.
Well, I suppose so, yeah.
So that's they should have known. They should have known. Unless they're willing to turn and flip flop with Big Show, it's not going to work. It's not going to be a long lasting partnership. So yeah,
so I think now we're either at 39 or 40 turns for the Big Show since he debuted in WWE back in '99. So yeah, 40 in 20 years.
He's coming up to 20 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll get to that Jeff Hardy thing, but that is an incorrect number.
Is it really?
Yeah,
because he had like a dark match.
No, he was signed in '94. He had his first match in 1994
Ooh.
against Razor Ramon.
So yes, this was the Bar and the Big Show, never a coherent act. The reason that the Bar won the titles, you could argue, at SmackDown 1000, where they beat the New Day, is now broken up in a backstage segment taped earlier in the day.
Yep.
Baffling.
It really was. Really weird.
I mean, I don't like it because it's a waste, but I'm so uninvested in it. I don't care.
No.
So it hasn't harmed my enjoyment of this show.
No.
I was just like, who gives a crap?
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, okay, well, I guess they're split up then. Cool.
Yeah, so that's why Big Show isn't out there for the Usos Bar match, and Cesaro's selling his jaw, and they have a decent match.
I thought it was a really good TV match, actually.
Yeah.
I thought it was some really good frenetic action. I thought the story of this match was Cesaro uppercutting Jimmy Uso jumping out of the air. Like, that was the story they were telling. Yeah. Anytime he tried to dive, there was Cesaro to be like, nope, uppercut, mate.
And it's always impressive.
It's always great. He could have done it 5 more times, and I'd be like, that's brilliant.
I thought, so those were very impressive, but I really liked the near fall sequence near the end.
Yeah.
Because I guess the tag division have done a really good job of setting up roll-ups as actual finishes. So I bought into a lot of the finishes that were happening, so it just made me pop even higher. And then the Usos got the splash for a non-roll-up win.
Yeah, which essentially sets them up now as new number one contenders to the tag titles. Once again, that reset button, we're going to start something afresh. I think they may have mentioned that the Usos were the sole survivors at Survivor Series in that sometimes canon, not always canon match.
I think that the Usos and the Bar have better chemistry than the Bar and the New Day.
It might be because it's a match we've seen less, because we saw New Day and the Bar a lot on Raw when they were feuding a couple of years ago, and then we've seen them do it a lot on SmackDown as well. So it almost feels like a fresher match.
Potentially, but it's not like we didn't see the Usos New Day enough, and that never got old. I've got higher hopes, higher in-ring hopes for this feud if it carries on. Although I'm not a fan of the challengers beating the champions to get a title shot. It's just like, why now? Why do I now want to see that match?
Well,
you've already
maybe. I mean, if they're going to take a leaf out of Raw's book, maybe next week Big Show can take one of the Usos' hats backstage and urinate into it.
Or Naomi.
Because Bobby Roode and Chad Gable, they beat AOP to earn that title shot. Maybe take a leaf out of their book.
What was the point of the Big Show really there? And I guess I don't know if they're telling the story that the Bar are no good without Show, or if it's because Cesaro was selling the jaw.
I don't know.
It's not very good. What was very funny though, speaking of the New Day, backstage it cuts to the New Day laughing at their phone, and the Miz walks in and goes, we're just watching your greatest role ever. And Miz says, you're talking about the Marine 6.
Yes, because you're all Mariners.
Yeah, and then Xavier has the line of the segment, no, we're not watching Marine 6 starring Becky Lynch. Just like everyone's getting over that it's not the Marine 6 starring The Miz.
Yeah.
It's the Marine 6 starring Becky Lynch. I love that running gag. And Xavier delivered it perfectly. And he said, no, we're watching your match from last week. And
where he got beat by, was it Wayne, Dane, Bane, Kairi Sane?
Big E getting a picture, like running through those names, and then gets a picture of Kairi Sane out, and then just tucks her. This was good. This was great New Day.
This was great. Not only that, but Xavier Woods singing The Flame Returns was just a Slow Chemical, Kane's old theme song, because they mentioned Kane in the list of people that might have beaten them, which I popped for because it's one of my favourite entrance theme songs ever. And Miz essentially said the New Day are being idiots, and like me and Shane were out there fighting for our lives. You two are just out acting like idiots backstage. And then he said he's going to go speak to Shane and set up a match for later on. And then Big E accidentally reveals that he is a Mariner, and essentially walks away doing this. No.
Yeah, he starts to, like, Kofi's like, what's wrong with the Miz? And Big E goes, well, Jake Carter from this.
Well remembered. I was going to call him Shane Huntley.
Yeah, something like that. I think we should review Marine 6 as a Patreon treat for Christmas.
I think, yeah, that sounds like a good little Christmas gift. Yeah.
I think we should watch it, record ourselves watching it, which might be pretty boring because when I watch films, I don't want to talk.
I was going to say, I'm very much a silence man, and if we're going to talk, to pause. Yeah. Tell me what you have to say, then we'll resume watching.
Make those even longer, those sorts of podcasts. After that, we got AJ Styles. He's backstage first, and I like this. He's like backstage, just sitting on a chair, being intense and broody. And then a producer comes over and says, "It's time."
Yeah.
And AJ stands up and comes out wearing a different colour scheme, sort of a luminous green with black. I got a Transformers 80s colour scheme vibe off this.
Oh yeah.
Can't remember which Transformer it is.
I was going to say, because if it was green, it would be green and purple, because it would be like the Destructicons. Oh, the Constructicons, rather, not Destructicons, idiot.
Okay, you know more.
Then formed Devastator. This was... So AJ then came out to cut a promo on Daniel Bryan, and I kind of got mixed feelings about this. Thought it was a good promo from AJ.
Yeah,
the video packages were very stilted within there because essentially...
Here's what happened last.
Well, he didn't even say that. He essentially said, I lost the title, then would pause so they could play a video package, and then said, and then Daniel Bryan had some things to say. Pause, video package. Very staged, very stilted. But the content was quite good, and he kind of says that Bryan's taking a leaf out of Raw's playbook. by having a champion that doesn't show up. Whereas I'm here and I always show up. I'm always at the pay-per-views, this, that, and the other. And I thought some of the content was very good here. However, if I was booking the show, if it were me in charge, I'd have had AJ win a squash match. Just against like local enhancement talent, and then cut the promo. Just win it 20 seconds, not even that. Just completely tap the guy out with the calf crusher, and then put over the guys like, "Hey, look, I'm here. I'm wrestling this week." Just put over there. Not only that, but it gets back some of the heat that he's lost since losing the championship, and he hasn't been seen since Survivor Series. I thought that might have been a more effective way than him just coming out, saying some words, then leaving.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, that would have been much better. Although I like there was a good line about I held the title for 371 days, but the last 14 without it have been the longest of all of them. That was good.
Yeah, some good content in there.
But he said like the reason I wasn't at Survivor Series or at SmackDown last week was because I wasn't medically cleared, and but it's not like you're wrestling right now. I thought that was a lazy explanation, especially after he'd just said how he was there all the time.
Yeah.
But AJ said he'll get his title back against Bryan at TLC. It was nothing extraordinary, but it was a solid segment. So Bryan's had a promo, AJ's had a promo. The last thing we want is what happened over the summer where they book these feuds backwards, and this would be the go home segment. So hopefully they've got some exciting stuff coming in the next few weeks.
Here's hoping.
Lance Sullivan, again,
Coming
still
soon.
a free agent.
Yep, hottest free agent.
I thought they would have changed up the promo by now. It's the exact same video
But
package.
when one's as good as this, like, do you need to have another one?
It's not the best video package I've ever seen.
It's probably the best you're going to get. Like, he's had X amount of matches that they've got footage of. In fact, they've probably got every bit of footage from every Lars Sullivan match he's had on NXT in that video package.
I'm just trying to think of, well, then make some more character-based stuff. I don't really know how you would visually display that, but just think of how impactful those Wyatt family vignettes were before they debuted. Those were great, and those were a little bit different every time. But yeah, who cares?
Well, but you've got to remember as well, the story is that apparently these were meant to start airing at TLC, but they're airing them early, which means they only plan to probably show it once, maybe twice. So instead, Vince's like, no, put it on now, pal, it's great. So now we're getting it all the time, all the goddamn time.
Because this isn't a SmackDown thing, so no one knows what's happening.
Nope.
Corey's like, oh, I really hope we get him on SmackDown. And I was like,
You're
Raw
Raw!
too. And then he said Shane McMahon's really got to push to get them. I'm like, why can't this be Paige's job? She's the general manager.
Yeah, but Shane's the commissioner.
Okay, next up, we got Shinsuke Nakamura. He came down for a match against Rusev. Rusev makes an entrance. God, just like how far has Rusev fallen from... It's great to see him out there, but all of that Rusev Day breakup stuff led to diddly squat.
I know, they had that match. They had that 90-second match on that SmackDown episode that everyone's forgotten. Where's Aiden English been since then, by the way?
Everything we said... Well, probably on the planned future endeavours list, I'd imagine.
What a shame.
It's just... Yeah, like, all of that... They were the most overact in the company at the start of this year. And they... What was the point of breaking them up? Because
what was the point of putting the Big Show with the bar?
Yeah, so it's a shame. But at least there's the glimmers of a storyline here. Rusev comes out and Nakamura attacks him with a knee and then hits another, which is more of a Kinshasa outside. And yeah. So Nakamura gets out of his US title match.
Exactly. So I said this in the review. I got the party poppers out for it. Some thought it might not happen, but Shinsuke Nakamura has a storyline.
Yeah.
Mate, it's taken them nearly 4 months, but they finally found something for the United States champion to do. It's hard. I get it. It's hard to find your champion something to do on a wrestling show. But, hey, man, they worked really hard, and finally, I think they might have found something for him. You know, well done. Well done, guys.
We'll have to wait because maybe he just doesn't show up next week. Usually, I would say this is a Nakamura-Rusev feud, which is a pretty decent US title thing. They haven't done anything to build up either guy.
They had a match at Crown Jewel.
Did they?
Yeah, that was the kickoff show, remember? They had that match.
Oh, of course.
It was the United States Championship match, no less.
Well, that's probably why I'm pretty unenthused about this. But yeah, just maybe Nakamura will have a match with someone else next week, Rey Mysterio, and he'll also get out of that. And that's what you're telling me.
Mate, I've just got, I don't know, this feels like it's a storyline. I'm trying to like climb onto anything I can. Oh my god, this almost feels like something.
I know. So, Nakamura, United States champion, hasn't had a storyline in 4 months. Jeff Hardy, the man he beat for that title, is just getting everything, it seems. This was promoted throughout the show. After every segment, there was a video package. Jeff Hardy has been in WWE for 20 years.
24 years.
This is his 20th anniversary.
24th anniversary.
So we're going to have a celebration of Jeff. And I was like, okay, so this is an angle. Like this has come out of nowhere.
I thought it was a retirement thing.
No, I never got that.
Okay, I mean, people might say that I'm being pedantic when I'm saying that he debuted in '94, because he was, but technically you could say that the Jeff Hardy character debuted in 1998 when the Hardy Boys first started to get some actual TV time and were pushed as an act. So that's fine. But I thought this was almost a retirement thing, because like Michael Cole was there. And I was like, why is Michael Cole there? Michael Cole, and they're standing, got like pictures of Hardy behind him, and he's like, charismatic enigma, Jeff Hardy. Then he Thanos'd away, and Jeff Hardy came out. The entire SmackDown roster, by the way, is standing on stage, heel and faces alike, breaking kayfabe. The Iconics are there applauding Jeff Hardy. Why? And then Jeff comes down to the ring, not wearing the face paint. It's just being Jeff. He makes some off-the-cuff remarks. He gets an off-the-cuff delete thing. He's like, "Oh, you can probably edit that out. It's live, mate." And then, like, it's just, and then he says,
"He thinks it's SmackDown from 10 years ago."
It's Scooby-Doo, mate. He doesn't know what he's doing. And then he just says, "This isn't a retirement speech, by the way." And that was like, "Oh, okay. So now it's an angle. No, okay. Now I know that I'm waiting for someone to come out and be his next challenger."
I had an opposite journey. I thought going in when it was advertised, I thought, well, this is an angle. It will probably be a Miz TV segment somehow. And then, as the thing started, with Michael Cole there, who just randomly introduced it, the pictures, the promo package.
Oh, the package was great.
Yeah, really good. It was even a bit of CM Punk in there from that great Swanton bomb off the really tall ladder. The whole roster was out there. Shane McMahon, of course, at the front and centre. And
best in the world.
I was like, maybe this is just a nice segment where they're just celebrating Jeff. And I started to think to myself, I wish WWE did this more. You do celebrate your history in a more organic way rather than a shove it down your throat way thing. And then you do like a few months of those, not every week, but when there's something to celebrate. So like once a year, when you do one of those and it does turn into an angle, boom. It feels like a big deal. It comes out of nowhere and it's all the more brilliant because of it. But no, they just did the angle here. That was not what they were doing.
Yeah.
I had like the what was the pay-per-view we watched? It was
Bad Blood.
Bad Blood, and they did the St. Louis
Hall of Fame,
and we were just like, "Where's the angle coming?" Oh no, it was just a really nice celebration of St. Louis wrestling.
It's just lovely, St. Louis. Yeah,
St. Louis,
could be. I mean, we're not Americans. We don't know.
St. Louis.
Maybe I'm thinking of because there's that bit where Edge and Christian,
Sam Munchnick,
when Edge and Christian called it Louisville,
yeah.
and Jim Ross going, "It's Louisville." Maybe that's what I'm getting confused.
I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm sure everyone has already corrected us.
It was probably an American football thing.
But yeah, it was an angle after all the nice stuff. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it would have been better if these things weren't so transparently an angle from the start. Samoa Joe comes out.
I thought this was so cool.
It was wicked.
It was awesome because so Jeff's in the ring and he's doing his promo, and my note says this is lovely.
He says, "Thank you for I've had my tough times.
Yeah.
Thanks for sticking with me." And it was I'm not the biggest Jeff Hardy fan. And I was with him. I was behind him here.
That video package made me. It was like, that's why I love Jeff Hardy. Like this company's made me forget by just putting him in pants feuds and that. But like they have made me remember why I was a massive Jeff Hardy mark.
And not one single person said Randy Orton brutalized him at Hell in a Cell. How's he even out there?
How's he even walking? And then Joe's music hits, and you can almost feel like the mood change on the ramp. And a few people turn around and go like, "Oh, I can't believe this guy. I can't believe this." And Shane, credit to Shane, I thought he was really great in this segment. Was just like walking up, being like, "Look, dude, now's not the time. Like, you're bang out of order for doing this." And Jeff's like, "No, let him say, let him talk." And so Shane's like, "Okay, yeah, I'll let you talk." And then Joe cuts this great promo where he's like, so good. He's like, "Oh, Jeff, I was sorry I'm late. I was popping champagne backstage for a drink, but yeah, maybe I shouldn't really be doing that with you. Like, maybe." And he starts talking about like making fun not making fun, not saying like you're an alcoholic, just making these overt references to Jeff Hardy's demons without ever saying, by the way, you're an alcoholic and you've ruined your life on several occasions because of it. It was a beautifully written promo and an incredibly performed promo from Samoa Joe. I thought it was awesome here.
I think beautiful is the wrong word. I would say vicious. It was such a vicious promo.
Beautifully vicious. Then.
Yeah. There was another really the champagne bottle line was really great, but I enjoyed the bit where he said that video package was really good. All those memories. I mean, you probably don't even remember them.
Because you weren't coherent enough.
Yeah, and then he just starts going on how about I'm Samoa Joe. I don't celebrate weakness.
Yes.
And that's what you are. You're weak. I've got a one-step program for you, Jeff.
Yeah.
It doesn't say, it just says anytime. And it was brilliant. You know, like my one-step program is I'll retire you.
Yeah.
I just thought and it's real quick, he says. Really, really good. And he even said and there will be another time. In reference to Jeff screwing up again.
Yeah.
Like he was like, this isn't behind you. You're weak.
Yeah.
Your demons are with you forever.
That's it. Yeah.
And you will screw up again.
Demons are always in the back of your head just waiting to show their faces again. And then Jeff Hardy, the valiant babyface, was just like, well, come in the ring then. Show me what you've got. Let's have a fight. And Joe starts walking to the ring and then it's like, nah. Because he doesn't need to. He's made his point. He set out what he wanted to do in that segment and he walked to the back. I thought it was a wicked segment. Yeah. I thought it was really, really cool. And I was thinking about this a lot while I was watching SmackDown, especially compared to Raw this week and Raw last week. I was like, why am I enjoying this show so much more? And it's because none of the babyfaces feel like idiots. And the show isn't all about heat.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, the show, there's only really a handful of segments on this where the heels were getting heat, but then there were times when the babyfaces were getting babyface wins. The babyface won at the end of the show. Randy Orton got his heat, but during that, Rey had a good comeback during that. And the show wasn't about building heat. It was about just everyone being great. I thought it was a really successful show in that sense.
I'd say Nakamura and Orton were the only two bits, and I'd say that's about a quarter of the show. God, yeah, I didn't even think of that. That is a really marked difference, and it's feuds that are very interesting, and I want to see happen.
Yeah,
Asuka, Becky Lynch, Charlotte, Jeff Hardy, Samoa Joe.
You're interested in a Jeff Hardy feud? Look at that.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. AJ Styles and The Miz.
Jeffrey.
AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan.
Yeah.
So very good.
It's funny as well. So in our new office block, someone from one of the offices came down to us. They were a wrestling fan. They were talking about our favorite matches and this and that. We just got chatting, and we asked him what his favorite match was. And he talked about when he was a kid and he saw Bret Hart versus Big Boss Man at King of the Ring, and he, as a kid, cried. He said because it was the good guy's journey and the good guy won. And that was when I was thinking about it. I was like, yeah, people like watching good people win in wressling. That's sometimes what we just really like when we're watching wrestling. It's not for the baddies to always win.
Yeah, I thought the same thing when he was talking to us. And that's not to say that heel heat is bad.
Absolutely
it's just
not.
It is so one-sided on Raw at the moment. It's actually unwatchable.
Yeah.
That's not just us being negative. That is the majority consensus of Monday Night Raw since Survivor Series. Next up, we got the payoff to that New Day Miz segment earlier on. Kofi Kingston took on The Miz. 2008 is once its match back.
I thought it was. I said this in the review. Solid paint by numbers wrestling. Nothing too flashy, nothing bad. It was there. It served its purpose. They did their stuff. They got out of there.
Well, but did it serve its purpose? Because
it furthers the Miz Shane McMahon feud.
I guess because Shane didn't come out to help Miz at any point of this, and. Another thing, so Kofi Kingston won here, another example of the baby faces eventually getting the better of the heels, because Miz took out Xavier with the trumpet on the outside.
Miz essentially distracted himself.
Yeah, and but Miz exposed the turnbuckle to throw Kofi into, but Big E put some pancakes in front of the turnbuckle. I don't know why that made me laugh so much. We're always about a New Day annoying, or are they very funny? And this week, definitely very funny. I loved everything they did.
Yeah.
Miz even brought a chair in the ring to win the match, but Xavier pulled that back. Kofi hit the Trouble in Paradise for the win. Sorry about the drilling that's going on in the background. But yeah, this is this was fine, but is Miz a face or a heel? I thought he was turning face. This was definitely cheating.
Like I thought with Charlotte, I thought he was very much a heel in this segment here. And when he was meeting Shane backstage, he was a heel there as well, because he was whinging to Shane that you weren't out there to be my tag team partner. Whereas Shane, the babyface, reminded him, we're not a tag team. Like, Miz is the delusional one here, not Shane. So I know that the story is, well, the reported story is that Shane is the one that's turning heel and Miz is turning babyface. If that's the story they're telling, they're doing a piss poor job of it.
That's it, yeah. So, and even if Miz is meant to be, it's a slow turn for Miz, where he's still got these heelish tendencies and becomes a good guy in the end. I don't think that story's being told very well either.
No.
So, and it's not like Shane and Miz. I don't care.
No, absolutely not. Of all the things on SmackDown Live, it's the one I'm least in. Actually, no, the Randy Orton Rey Mysterio thing. But I'm less interested in Miz versus Shane than I am Rey versus Randy.
I had an observation in this match.
Oh yeah.
Do you think WWE look at the New Day and how the New Day? It was essentially a 3-on-1 advantage here against the Miz, but it was more of a. Xavier and Big E were just out there to make sure Miz didn't cheat. Do you think WWE look at that and go, well, Lucha House Party are a 3-man group? That everyone likes New Day.
They've got a trumpet. They've got a piñata. They're basically the same thing.
It's not a backwards psychological advantage to have a 3-on-2 handicap match with Lucha House rules.
Someone tweeted us yesterday, because I was making fun on Twitter at the Renee and Michael Cole being really upset that Alexa Bliss is a general manager, even though she's an active part of the roster, even though Baron Corbin is, and they seem to think that's fine. And this person tweeting back to me was like, yeah, but Michael Cole and Renee also seem to think it's fine that Lucha House Party have a 3-on-2 3-on-2 advantage, but yet when Baron Corbin does it in the main event, it's a dastardly thing to do.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, great point.
And the last proper segment was Randy Orton coming out. He came out with Rey's mask that he stole in the main event of last week. Yeah. Remember that? Orton Mysterio was a main event last week.
Yeah.
And
12 years ago.
He just sort of, had a few words.
This was a boring promo.
Yeah.
This was a very, very boring promo.
It was boring, and I think it was made worse by, in-ring promo segments with wrestlers explaining their actions want to show a minimum. If that, maximum. Like one per show is your quota, and you don't have to use it. I would prefer you not use it and have something more engaging. So to have this promo and the AJ promo earlier on, I was a bit like...
At least this one had the brawl.
Two guys who aren't great promos, cutting promos.
Well, I would disagree with that, because I think
they're not next level promos.
No, but I think they're good promos. I just think Randy had a really boring promo here. I thought AJ's promo was actually really good earlier.
I still think he's an average promo in the grander scheme of promos of all time.
But I would never say he's a bad promo.
No, but I didn't say it was a bad promo.
What did you say then?
I said he was just a normal promo.
Oh, I thought you said he was a bad promo. My mistake.
If I did, I didn't mean it. Because we can't go back and...
It's hyperbole. That's what we do here. But I thought the brawl, actually, between Randy and Rey was really cool. And I thought Rey had some really good fire, speaking of fire, behind him when he was doing his 619s to various different parts of the body. I thought there was some really cool stuff in here. But eventually, Orton got the better of him because Rey's injured. He's had the neck brace on. He took the neck brace off, trying to rip at the mask again. And that's the other thing as well. Is Randy's sitting there going I've destroyed the mask. Rey just comes out wearing another mask. It's like, well, so what's so cool about the one you've got there? He's got loads of them, mate. Just go to the merch store. There's plenty of them there. And Orton hits the draping DDT and uses the chair on the throat. So I'm guessing we're going to get a chairs match at TLC, which
cool.
I mean, they're very silly matches. It's less silly than a stairs match, but but of the 3 or the 4 stipulations that you can have at TLC, it is the silliest one.
Yeah, because it was tables, ladders, chairs, and stairs.
And it was Big Show versus Eric Rowan in a stairs match. A stairs match, for God's sake.
I mean, as much as we don't like WWE this year.
oh man, I said this before, but everyone's like, that was one of the worst Raws in decades. I was like, mate, go back and watch some of those 2006 shows. Those are bad. Go back and watch Nitro in 1999 or 2000. That is truly, truly awful wrestling. Yeah. I would much rather watch Raw from last night than watch a Nitro from 1999 because that is 3 hours of truly awful television.
And I'd prefer this week's Raw over any of the just awful John Cena years.
Yeah, or the DX
Not all
years.
of it, but like
absolutely,
that was just
that's
crushing. And they were 2 hours.
Yeah.
Randy sort of stands tall. And the final segment, really, before the Women's Battle Royal main event, which we've already covered, was Shane McMahon backstage next to his World Cup trophy, texting. I thought, well, that's a bit of a heelish thing just to be standing next to it, because he always said, "I don't believe I'm the best, but here is my trophy in every segment I'm in." And Miz comes back and says, "Where were you, man? We're family. We are two parts of the best in the world.
We're 2/3. We're co-besties."
Yeah, and the trophy is their child. So where were you for me? Start acting like it." And then Miz storms off, and Shane's like,
Yeah. But Miz is the delusional one in that. I don't look at that and be like, "God, Miz is right. Where was Shane?"
Yeah, I'm not really into this storyline or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't find it engaging, and I'm worried because it's Shane. It'll get a lot more TV time than more deserving feuds.
Well, I'm more worried. Less that it's going to get more TV time, more that they're going to wait till WrestleMania to pay it off. So, if you think building for the next 3 weeks of Baron Corbin matches to build a TLC is bad, mate, wait till we're building Miz versus Shane McMahon for the next 4 to 5 months.
Well, overall, though, a pretty decent show. A really very enjoyable 2 hours. The wrestling was good. The Asuka being added to the main event of TLC has just completely transformed my excitement for the rest of the year, which I was really severely down on. And Samoa Joe cut an excellent promo. And the whole Jeff Hardy presentation was very good. I would give it a smacktastic, a 4 out of 5.
As did I. I thought it was a proper thumbs-up show. I thought it was a really good, as I said in the review and I've said here as well, good reset button pressing, just being like, look, last week's show was bad, it was confusing, we didn't really know what we were doing because clearly we changed our minds on what happened at Survivor Series 48 hours later because Shane still has not paid off on that things are going to change tweet. So that last week I feel was we changed our plans and now we're just changing them again. So perhaps Charlotte Flair will be a completely different character next week as well and they'll just change the layout of this feud. But I guess we'll wait and see until then. Apart from that, thought it was a thumbs up show.
Remember to go over to beer52.com/WrestleTalk, UK viewers only, to get your free case of craft beer. And that is all we've got time for on this show. Click the videos on the desk that have just appeared to catch up with the latest WrestleTalk awesome things. And this button, which will subscribe you to the podcast version of this show with exclusive intros and outros. I've been Ollie Davis. This has been Luke Owen. And that was Rambling.